Hi folks, this is going to be a full demo and review of this lovely Squier 40th Anniversary Vintage Strat. I've had it for over 6 months now. Quite a few of you have asked on some of my other videos how I'm getting on with it, whether I recommend it. So I thought I'd put everything, all the information in this video. The way that I like to do these kind of things, I'm going to put a few clips interspersed through the video of me playing it in various different styles, various different tones. And maybe a few clips from some videos I've done in the past few months using the guitar as well. And if you want to check out full-length versions of those videos, then I'll put the links in the description below. If you're new to my channel, then please consider subscribing. It really helps. This is quite a small guitar channel. Needless to say, I haven't been paid by Fender or Squier for doing this. I bought this with my own money, and your support is very much appreciated. If you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment if you have anything to say, and watch a few of my other videos while you're at it as well. Now, first up, let me just say this is a demo and review of this specific guitar. I can't guarantee if you go and buy the same guitar from a shop that it's going to be in the same condition, so bear that in mind. It's always best to go and try one for yourself before you actually commit the money to it. That said, I did take a risk on this. I bought this second hand, but in basically new condition, for about £250. They sell for around about £400 here in the UK, although you can often get deals on them, which puts them obviously a bit more pricey than your average Squier, but then they are a little bit more special. I think the first thing that strikes anybody about this guitar is the colour. The sort of seafoam green, I absolutely love it. It's got this sort of gold pickguard. Wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea, of course. They do offer different shades, but they're all kind of unusual kind of colour combinations. If you're in a death metal band, you'd probably look a bit silly on stage with one of these, but then you're probably not watching this video if you are in a death metal band, so that shouldn't really be a problem. I have seen a few people online have fitted a white pickguard, and that looks really classy actually. I would be tempted myself, but then I do like the kind of gold metal effect. The body itself is made of a wood called Nyatoh? Nyatoh? Don't know if anyone knows how to pronounce that. It's not a wood that I had any experience of in guitars, but it's similar in characteristic to mahogany, so reasonably heavy. I was actually surprised when I got this at box how heavy it was. Not because it is particularly heavy, but just any Squiers that I've tried in the past have been super light. And I guess it makes sense, this being the premium end of Squier's offerings, that a bit of a heavier, sort of more high value wood is used in the body. So it comes in around 3.6 kilograms. Which is not backbreaking, perfectly fine for standing up and doing gigs and stuff, but just a little bit heavier than your average Squier. obviously are maple. They've got this lovely rich colour, which I wondered whether that was the sort of roasted maple that's very trendy at the moment, but it's not. It's just a satin urethane finish that they apply to it, but it really is lovely. It's got this really lovely smooth feel, and I think the rich colour goes really well against the funky turquoisey colour of the body. The neck is a C-shaped neck, and I find it really very agreeable. I absolutely love it. I've tried Fender custom shop strats in guitar shops and things before, and I haven't really liked the shape of the neck. That's a subjective thing. It depends what you're used to, depends on the size and the shape of your hands, but for me I've never really got on with a lot of those kind of high-end Fender strats. But this I took to immediately. It's just really comfortable, really smooth, really nice, just fits in my hand. The frets are narrow tall gauge, which is nice, just that little bit of extra height. Makes string bends and things that little bit easier compared to sort of vintage guitars that have smaller frets. So when your fingertips aren't in contact with the wood of the fretboard, that removes that point of friction and just makes the job a little bit easier. I fitted 10s to this. I think it ships with 9s, but I just prefer 10s, and I didn't have any problems with the nut slots. I haven't needed to widen them at all. Speaking of the nut, it's a bone nut. It's been fine. I always apply a little bit of lubricant to the slots when I change strings, just to help with the stability, and it's been absolutely fine. The tuners are kind of vintage Fender style tuners. The tremolo is a vintage style Fender tremolo with the 6 different screws. The arm itself, I think this is probably a common problem with strats anyway. I was kind of getting annoyed with the arm not staying where I wanted it to stay. It's always just either loose or you tighten it up so much that it ends up at a stupid angle and then you can't move it anymore. Found a temporary solution for that with PTFE tape, which plumbers use. This stuff, just wrapping that around the thread of the arm before it gets wound in, and then that gives a little bit of extra kind of thickness, and as a result it stays wherever I want it to stay. The pickups are Fender designed Alnico single coils, and I really like the sound of them. You can judge for yourself on the clips. I absolutely love the neck pickup, especially. I just love the neck pickup in a Strat anyway, and it just sounds like a Strat, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's this sort of fairly standard arrangement of volume control, which works for all three. You've got tone control, which works for the neck pickup and the middle pickup, and then the extra tone control is just for the bridge pickup. So within that you can really get quite a versatile range of different sounds. You know, it's the 5-way switch as well, so you've got each pickup on its own, or you can get a combination of these two or these two. A minor complaint, and again this is really against Strats in general, and not this one specifically, but I always find with Strats that I'm knocking, my technique must be slightly dodgy, and I'm knocking the volume control as I'm playing sometimes, and you end up thinking, man, why is this sounding so thin and weedy? And then you look down and realise you've turned the volume down to 3 or something. So That's just a problem that I have playing Strats. Not much. I wouldn't be arrogant enough to suggest that we should change such a hallowed design just because of my poor technique. These are made in Indonesia, as so many of these kind of budget guitars are these days. The quality seems to be great. I mean, I've got, if you've seen any of my other videos on, I now have two different Squier guitars, the Larry Carlton range, which are both made in Indonesia. I have a Dan Electro, which I think is made in Indonesia as well. The quality coming out of Indonesia seems to be really, really good. I would say, as I always do, that it's a very different climate there to certainly to the UK, and I think by the time those instruments have reached Britain, it's not surprising that people often report maybe a bit of the frets sprouting out of the fretboard, or setup issues that probably weren't apparent when it left the factory in Indonesia. For me, as I mentioned, I got this second hand, so I don't know if the previous owner had done any particular setup, but I didn't really need to do a huge amount. I adjusted the bridge just to bring it flat. I didn't want it floating, I just want it flat, keep it relatively stable. I adjusted the intonation slightly, of course, and then just applied a bit of lubricant to any of the sources of friction to try and help the tuning stability. Speaking of the tuning stability, it was variable. All of the things I've just described help a lot. I would still probably be checking my tuning after every song in a gig with this guitar, especially if I'm using the whammy bar. It's not bad, and I suspect a skilled luthier would probably set the guitar up in a better way, and then tuning stability would be improved even further from that. But, you know, for me, it's not locking tuners, you know, it's a vintage style tremolo. Naturally, I'm going to be a little bit wary of the tuning from time to time, but that's just something you have to deal with this kind of design of guitar. So is it worth spending 350, 400 quid on a Squier? For what it's worth, to me it's just a lovely Strat. It doesn't really matter what it says on the headstock. It looks like a Strat, sounds like a Strat, plays like a Strat, and that's all I ever wanted from it. So it's completely fulfilled what I had hoped when I bought it. I think we're kind of spoilt for choice these days in that kind of price bracket. There's a lot of choice out there. I've recently acquired a Squier S3, which is the sort of Larry Carlton range of Strats, their budget offering, which is a very similar spec to this, slightly cheaper to buy new. And I'm going to be doing a shootout video between the two of them very, very soon. So look out for that. Make sure and subscribe and all of that if you don't already. Out of the two, this is the one that obviously looks like a Strat. You know, Squier can have the official headstock shape and the body shape and everything with no legal complications, whereas of course Squier have to do their own interpretation of that. But yeah, I've certainly recommended these guitars to some of my students. I'm a guitar teacher mostly by trade, a gigging musician as well. And yeah, I've recommended checking these guitars out to some of my students already. As a kind of a step up from the basic guitar that they might start on. So overall, I'm super impressed. I didn't expect to be buying a Squier this year, but when they brought out this range, I was just blown away by how cool they looked. And it certainly, I found it inspiring to pick up. So what more do you want? Hope you found this video useful, especially if you're considering buying one. Again, put a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you have one and you want to share your experience of how it is. And likewise, if you've got any questions, drop them below and I'll try and check in from time to time and answer them. For now, I'll say goodbye and I'll see you in the next video.